May 14th. Welcome everyone, members of the public, members of our board. Welcome to an evening meeting of the Kent County Board of Commissioners. We'll get things started. Wayman, can you read the advisement?
Sure, Madam Chair. Pursuant to Governor Whitmer's Executive Order 2020-75, the Kent County Board of Commissioners, in order to protect the public health, will conduct this meeting via electronic communications. Any member of the public wishing to listen to the proceedings or provide public comment may do so by using the following internet connection or phone numbers and passcode. This is listed on the agenda and posted in the meeting notice. Any disruptions during the meeting by use of offensive language or any offensive actions will be muted. You will be removed from the meeting. Those public comment may communicate via the publiccomment.com. I'm sorry, public comment at kentcountymi.com. Public comment at kentcountymi.com.
Okay, Wayman, we had a lot of problems. We've got 3 commissioners here saying they couldn't hear you. I don't know if you are close to your mic or
Okay.
it's like the mic is on the other side of the phone or other side of the room from you, and we're hearing you from a distance.
I think a lot of people are still unmuted.
And people need to mute.
Exit and go back into the meeting, which means
Give us a couple of seconds here.
Okay. Just a reminder, if you are not muted, please mute your phone or your computer, or you can do it on your screen as well, so that we don't have any interference. Harold, do you have a way to mute or no?
I don't know. Oh,
the host is able. There we go.
Mary Beth, are we able to start?
Yeah, we're back in. Can you hear us better now?
Wayman, can you try again?
No, it's still going over there. Let me get over here.
but where's the microphone picking them up at?
Probably from one of your laptops.
But they're all, I mean, we're doing the exact same
Okay,
thing.
can you hear me now, Madam Chair?
Can hear you okay.
Go by.
Can
one
we
of
use
these.
yours, MB? I will mute this.
We really need to have good audio from Wayman. It's not
Can you
good
hear me
right now.
Are you all right now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Okay, Madam Chair, pursuant to Governor Whitmer's Executive Order 2020-75, the Kent County Board of Commissioners, in order to protect the public health, will conduct this meeting via electronic communications. Any member of the public wishing to listen to the proceedings or provide public comment may do so by using the following internet connection or phone numbers and passcode as indicated on the meeting notice. You may contact public comment at kentcountymi.com to enter your
Just lost Wayman again.
And for the public, it's kentcountymi.gov.
Yep.
Mute there. I'll mute over here. And now
Okay, can you hear me, Beth? Okay.
Can you hear us now? I'm hearing you.
Yes.
Can you hear us now, Mandy?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I apologize to everyone for the technical difficulties. Bear with us, but we're going to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Members to unmute as your name is called.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Commissioners Skaggs. Commissioner Skaggs. Commissioners Wooden.
Here.
Womack. Commissioner Womack. Commissioners Bulkowski.
Present.
Talon.
Present.
Hennessy.
Present.
Milton.
Here.
Sparks.
Present.
Teal.
Here.
Breivy.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Voorhees.
Present.
Ponstein.
Here.
Vice Chair Steck.
I am here.
Commissioners Jones.
Here.
Morgan. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioners Antor.
Here.
Vonk.
Here.
Chair Bolter.
Here.
Madam Chair, is
Madam
Commissioner Skaggs on the line?
Here, thank you, Clerk.
Madam Chair, you have 17 members present, 2 absent. You have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are on to item 3, invocation, and I will call on Commissioner Voorhees to give our invocation today.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. As early in the morning or late at the night, we received showers that really turned everything a beautiful green. And that's our prayer tonight, that showers of blessing will be upon our county and our state of health and of wealth and of care. And so let's pray for those points. Heavenly Father, tonight we come with many burdens upon our heart as we fight against a virus that has caused great damage and taken lives of precious people prematurely. And so we ask that this day, that your shower of blessing, your shower of protection may be upon our people and upon every family and business that calls home in Kent County in Michigan. And so we acknowledge you as the great provider, the giver of every good and perfect gift, and ask for the gift of life, of protection for those who are first on the front end of the line in the battle against COVID, and for our first responders in the police and fire and many areas of safety, and upon all those who have the concern of family, home, moms and dads and children. We pray for safety over all of them this night. Give our county commission wisdom in the decisions tonight. May we be a blessing to one another, and may we be faithful to the charge that we took with the oath of office to do what is right and good for the people of Kent County. And so we give you thanks with a thankful heart for life, for love, and for mercy. We ask it and give it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, looks like we have a flag before us. Let's have our Pledge of Allegiance in item 4. I pledge allegiance,
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
Republic,
One
which
nation,
stands
under
one
God,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
for
liberty,
justice for all.
justice for all.
justice for all. All right, we are on to item 5, public comment. And this public comment is related to items on the agenda. Pam, if you could please put the agenda back on the screen, that would be great. I'm going to check chat, and I will also check to see if we have any public comment in our email. I don't see anything.
There's one.
Okay, Paul Hahn. Paul, please welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to jump in here tonight. I sit on the City of Grand Rapids Water Advisory Board, and there's been much discussion at this time about making sure that people can shelter safe at home. And having access to clean drinking water is a part of that strategy, and being able to do that. As a participant in that advisory, I was made aware that there is significant shortage in payment being made at this time due to hardship. The governor has restricted water utilities from shutoff and has restricted them from collecting late fees. My understanding is that as of this time, that the suspension of late fees has created about a $170,000 deficit for the city of Grand Rapids. My concern is not so much for the city of Grand Rapids as an entity, because it will be able to manage the deficit going into the future through collection of fees and rates for water service. My concern is for the people that must pay these fees and catch up on the back end of COVID-19. It's my understanding that the city of Grand Rapids, as part of its request, did suggest that part of the county's CARES Act relief funding be used to address this issue, and I would encourage participation in that. My understanding, again, at this time, is that a significant part of those late fees goes to the Kent County Community Action Agency for relief for those who have a challenging time paying their bills. This is why this matters to me as a citizen and as the director at the Healthy Homes Coalition, is because if people can't pay their water bills and they get late fees, ultimately those items go on their tax bill. If those items go on their tax bill as an unresolved debt to government, they are prohibited from accessing other resources such as lead hazard control and other ways to relieve suffering in our community. My concern is that we might look at a way to make sure that we do not run a deficit in that utility assistance program at the Kent County Community Action Agency, and that we consider the relief that we might be able to provide to our water utility at this time. The CARES Act is now facing some supplemental funding that's being discussed by Congress. Hopefully later this week, bills will be introduced. The electric utilities, the gas utilities, the public utilities have, with the exception of water, have asked for relief, and they are written into that legislation. I would encourage the county to also advocate at the federal level for relief to local utilities that provide clean drinking water to our citizens at this time. So we can do something on the local level by using CARES Act funding. We can also seek relief, additional relief, with the legislation pending in Washington. Thank you for your time tonight.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to visit us, or just wish we could visit? Anyone else wishing to make public comment? I can no longer see the chat again. I don't see anyone in chat. Anyone in email?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right, if I could have the agenda back up, please. We're going to go on to item 6, special order of business. Can I please have the agenda back up? Thank you. Thank you. We're on to special order of business, and I will call on Dar Boss from our Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, Commissioners. Pam, would you be able to put the slides up? If you could start with the first one, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Tonight, I'd like to take a few minutes to provide an overview of the Department of Public Works over the last year. 3 areas that we'll touch base on. One is COVID-19, of course, and the impact. We'll take a little look at our year in review, some highlights and accomplishments, and then we'll take a look forward. Forward slide, please. So in terms of COVID-19, I am pleased to share that our team is healthy. We've been delivering essential services throughout the pandemic. Last Monday, we were able to resume our recycling operations, and we so appreciate everyone's patience and understanding while we were closed. We have seen a bit of a drop in overall disposal volume. With that, it was expected. For example, waste energy facility, we're seeing about a 20% less waste coming to that facility. Commercial is down, but as many of you know, the residential is up because so many people are sheltering in home. On Monday, we're going to restart our Safe Chem programs for residents that have household hazardous waste and other chemicals. After Memorial Day, we'll be able to restart our special burns for law enforcement. And also that week, we'll be resuming full Saturday hours at all of our facilities. The only program that will continue to pause, and it's more in line with when the schools come back into session, is many of our educational tours will continue to be paused until you have a little better idea on how best to handle the social distancing. Next slide, please. In year in review, in terms of waste generation, we did see a bit of an increase, although it's beginning to plateau. Waste disposal overall in Kent County was up about 2% in 2019. That equates to about 2.2 million cubic yards of municipal solid waste that was generated and disposed. Our facilities overall saw a slight decline, although the waste energy facility did see some of an increase. Next slide, please. Year in review, a few highlights and accomplishments that I would like to share. In March, we were able to complete the installation of our new paper screens. That both improves our efficiency and safety at the facility, and it continues to provide investment in the capital refurbishment and future operation of the Recycling and Education Center, ensuring that the facility is available and we're able to process recycling that's coming in from the community. I'd also like to recognize Commissioner Breevy as the new chair of our Board of Public Works. I'd also like to thank her and thank Commissioner Vaughn for all their work in making that transition so smooth. My appreciation also to Wayman and his team, who is helping to facilitate the Solid Waste Management Advisory Committee meetings, where we're reviewing the history, the present state, and proposed future operations and initiatives for the Department of Public Works. We did hit the pause button due to COVID, but we hope to reconvene that committee hopefully by early fall. Commissioner Breevy and Skaggs also serve on the Kent and Allegan Advisory Committee with Supervisor Tom Hooker, along with their counterparts from Allegan and Door Township. This committee is helpful. They're providing us advice, and we're continuing to provide project updates and communication. Next slide, please. As we look forward, the Department of Public Works, the right place, and our business development team is developing a request for proposal that will identify for us the company or companies that could become anchor tenants at the proposed sustainable business park. That will be helpful because it will inform us on the cost of service and the type of technologies that could be cited there. And we'll be able to bring that information back to the Board of Public Works and the Board of Commissioners later this year for consideration. Landfill diversion activities at the North Kent Transfer Station. We received a grant from Eagle, and with that grant, we were able to purchase a material handler, which will allow us to select and remove reusable and recyclable materials from the loads coming into North Kent Transfer. That would include scrap metals, building supplies, and other things. It's on site now. We're going through training and kind of final setup and commissioning, and we hope within the next week or so to be able to do more work with that piece of equipment. Waste energy facility, we're pleased that in December we signed a new 20-year power purchase agreement to be able to sell our electricity to Consumers Energy. With that, we have a bright future, and we're looking forward to the next 20 years of operation at that facility. We'd also like, as we look to the rest of this year, to build consensus around how best to improve recycling participation with our residents. Currently, we're at about 25% participation. We'd like to see that increase to 50%, and also look at better ways to provide access to all. And then, of course, we're looking at our continued progress and our long-term stretch goal of reducing landfill disposal by 90% by the year 2030. So with that, I'd like to conclude the presentation, and I would be able to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Dar. Appreciate that. Do we have any questions for Dar today?
I do. I couldn't find my wave.
Commissioner Ponstein?
Thank you. Dar, thanks for being here today. Just a couple quick questions. You had mentioned that our recycling rate's at 25%. The goal is 50%. When our facilities were closed the past month or so, I know there were still trash haulers that were picking up recycling. Are there other places that trash haulers within our county are taking recycling products?
For the most part, no. What we were encouraging were two things. One, we were encouraging residents that were able to hold off to be able to hold those materials at their home for those weeks that we were closed. We did offer options to all the waste haulers that as a second best choice, that if we could generate electricity, that they could deliver that material to the waste to energy facility. One of the challenges the haulers have is that out of habits and practices, many people continue to set both carts out. And some folks were struggling with whether they could hold it or not. So those routes continued, but for the most part, that material is being delivered to waste to energy and not to another recycling facility.
So what does the future look for recycling in the U.S. With tensions with China and trade? Is there any movement where the United States can process our own recycled products right here in our country?
If I could speak specifically to our facility in the Midwest region, we're fortunate in that we've never had a challenge in moving our material. There are processors in the Midwest. We deliver material to Canada, to Wisconsin, to Illinois, to Indiana, to Ohio, and those Midwest processors are handling all of our material. The challenge that we have is that we're influenced by international and national commodity values. And that's really where we're taking a bit of the hit and have experienced headwinds for some time now, where the value of those commodities are not where they were at. And that then puts more pressure on the overall operation and our ability to cover those costs of operating there.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bukowski?
Thank you. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. Thank you, Dar, for first having probably our fastest special order of business ever. And at the same time, it hid too well how much you and your staff are doing. I am on the Board of Public Works, so I see this firsthand. Thanks to Chair Breevy on that board. I'm also on the Waste to Energy Advisory Committee, and I'm part of the Solid Waste Management Advisory Committee. Get the reports on the Sustainable Business Park, talking about all this recycling. I mean, all these things that you're doing in your staff, again, is remarkable in your leadership, moving us forward, and you have that 10, 20, 30-year horizon in your planning. At the same time, you know, the picture you started with, you're concerned about emptying the loading bay at the recycling center today. So thank you for your continued leadership, and I'll try to be brief too and end right here.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Commissioner Steck?
Thank you, Chair Bolter. Also, thank you, Dar, for your focused report. I can't talk trash the way Commissioner Bolkowski can, but I do have a question about the RFP process that you described on the business park. Can you just briefly describe the nature of the kind of entity that you would anticipate responding to that RFP? And then secondly, some of your thoughts on whether the COVID circumstance or crisis that we are engaged in is going to impact or slow up that process?
Sure. In terms of the type of company that would respond, what we've recognized with the help of the Right Place and several of our engineering consultants is the first step in potential development of the business park is to identify and site what we would consider a mixed waste processing facility. What that means is that it would be somewhat similar to our recycling and education center, although instead of taking source separated materials from your recycling cart, we're going to take all trash potentially and take it through a processing and sort process so that the various fractions, the various materials that are in the waste stream can be sorted and separated out. And there's really several avenues or several ways that ends up happening is you do create commodities, much like the recycling center. You also create material that can be used for energy, be used for fuel. And we've also identified companies that are making ASTM standard roof components and other things that can be manufactured along with paper pulp that then moves to paper mills. So it's that mixed waste processing component that was really the start of everything that then occurs after the fact. So that is the type of company that we're focusing on. The right place, rightly identified, that trying to focus and take kind of a shotgun approach and attempt to attract any and all would not be helpful. We need to land that anchor tenant, and then the boutique tenants and others that would potentially site there really follow up after that. Specific to the impact of COVID, I think we're looking at it from the same aspect that most are in terms of, is it interrupting businesses from a construction standpoint, from a supply standpoint? We're seeing impacts, some from COVID, regarding our ability to move recyclables into the market. But I think we're more affected, at least with our plastics, in that, and although it's affected by COVID, the value of oil, right, petroleum, where we saw it trading negative a few weeks ago, that directly impacts our ability to sell plastic because it's the commodity is going to follow the price of oil. Right now, actually, there's a shortage of mixed paper and recycled paper that are needed by the mills to generate tissue paper or toilet paper and paper towel and all the other things that we need. So the prices actually have jumped up on that. But like with everything else, when there's suppressed demand due to the pandemic or other market influences, the prices kind of follow.
If I could follow up, Chair, just Dar, following up on the RFP, you profiled what they would have to be doing, but are these entities that already exist, and are they entities that are functioning in the state of Michigan already? Are they international?
Some are international, many are national. Part of our process in this past year with the right place was to validate technologies. So we visited a number of companies that are operating in the US that are providing mixed waste processing, but they use different technologies and some of their outputs vary from company to company. So we know the technologies exist. Many, they are being deployed in the US. Now it's a matter of attracting them to West Michigan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Most of my questions actually were already answered. I just had one outstanding, which was regarding the point of increasing our recycling rate countywide from 25% to 50%. What was the timeline for that? And could you expand a little bit more about how we intend to increase that rate? Yeah, could you provide a little more information on both fronts?
Sure, thank you for the question. So the timeline has changed a bit in that with the pandemic hitting, we were hoping to be able to bring recommendations forward from the advisory committee back to the Board of Public Works and then ultimately to the Board of Commissioners. So it may take us a little longer to get there. There are several things that we were going to present for consideration and thought. And one would be, how do you provide better access? Access is a challenge in where you may have multifamily residences, whether it's a condo or whether it's a townhouse or an apartment complex. things of that nature. And so we've got some solutions and some suggestions there. The other thing that we might do is look at how can we blend a rate where both recycling and trash collection is brought together as a single service to residents. So those are a couple of the ideas that we're speaking to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. Dar, I had a few additional questions for you. I have 3 bullet points. The first one is I wanted to hear some comments from you on a PFAS update. The second is I was hoping to get some better picture of a financial overview. And the third is I wanted to hear any plans for fee increases.
So considering PFAS, of course, COVID-19 has taken the place of PFAS, at least short term. Doesn't mean that we're not focused on and working toward it. The most significant impact in terms of PFAS has occurred at our North Kent landfill. So we've continued to move forward with the engineering and design plans to address PFAS, both in what's called leachate and in some of the groundwater that we handle at the North Kent landfill. In the next number of weeks, we will have that design package ready, a bid package ready, and the purchasing division will be issuing a request for quotation to determine what the cost will be. We have an engineer's estimate of probable cost, but getting the actual bids back, particularly in this environment, will help us understand how and if we're to move forward. We've developed an approach that we can do a phase 1, phase 2, which would allow us to start the project at a lesser cost. From a financial standpoint, we continue to have a deficit in our overall closed landfill fund that's funded through the solid waste surcharge. We've spoke to that at the Board of Public Works level. We have shared that with the county administration and with the Board of Commissioners in the past. I don't have a specific update now as to whether or not fees would be recommended for adjustment, but I would say that one of the things that we were asked to do is to take a look at any and all other ways of kind of backfilling and funding that, including looking at old insurance policies from the 70s, which we've done, and also take a look at potentially responsible parties, which we're also undertaking at this time. I think we'll be able to bring back a clearer picture and a better recommendation later this year on where that stands. In terms of the financial position for the overall department, it stands very strong. We will have some impact from COVID, but I think we're impacted less from the perspective of, while we're seeing some of the waste flow reduce, we're not, the haulers probably are seeing the most significant impact in that when their commercial, which has happened, volume drops, they're not able to charge that, right? Because they're not collecting it. Yet most haulers are locked into what it costs to provide residential curbside carts. And when the trash volume increases, they can't turn around and charge more for it. Overall, we'll see some softening. I think it'll trail a little bit. We always trail with the economy, but overall, our financial picture is strong. We are speaking with our Waste Energy Advisory Committee, and we will speak to the Board of Public Works about future rate adjustments to cover capital refurbishment at the waste energy facility as we look forward in the next 20 years. And we will be discussing the Recycling Education Center and what it means to deal with the commodity value that we've lost so significantly over the last couple of years, and how to best make up a portion of that. But we are able to backstop and support the recycling center and some of the other operations from our overall budget. And so I'm confident in that. And COVID, while it's impacting us some, I don't think we'll have a significant impact overall to our department.
Great. Looks like Commissioner Antor had a question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Real quick there, you had mentioned something about the commodity market as it stands with domestic and international, who absorbs the cost of the shipping to China? Is that something that's just built into the overall price, or is that something they pick up, or do we pay half, or how does that work?
So we don't move any materials offshore. All of the markets that we move materials to are in the Midwest. It depends, but specific to what we do, it depends on the arrangement and the value of the materials. For example, we move glass, cullet, from our recycling center to a company called Strategic Materials in southern Wisconsin. Our net cost is $10 per ton because glass is one of those things that has a negative value, but we're not paying the freight. Other commodities, whether it be scrap steel that we're moving locally or aluminum that we're moving locally, either to Padness or to a shoe pan or someone else, those are all built into to what you ultimately are paid and you receive in revenues. It all depends on the strength of the market and the negotiations. We have a good team that's brokers most of our materials, but freight is certainly one of the things that we look at. Fortunately, everything's Midwest, so we're not having to deal with the logistics of trying to move it offshore.
Thanks. One other quick question. Do you know if any of the stuff that we end up sending to China through these brokers, did any of that go to waste energy over there?
It's possible that it does. I guess when you think about waste to energy in a larger context, waste to energy facilities are being built throughout the world at a significant pace. You're seeing it's well established in Europe and it continues to grow. You're seeing it establish and grow in Asia and in India, Africa, many and Midwest or Middle East. We don't see growth so much in that industry here in the U.S. For a number of reasons, but overall throughout the world, a company or a country like Denmark actually net imports waste from other European countries because they generate steam and electricity from their waste energy facilities. It's possible that waste going to China or recyclables could be combusted, but that's an awful long haul to move that material that far. So it economically wouldn't make sense.
The only reason I ask that, I live a mile away from a juicer, and they get all their concentrate from China, their apple products, and I live on the ridge where we're surrounded by a bazillion acres of apples. So it always makes you wonder, how can it be, in their best interest to buy stuff all the way from over here, just incinerate it if they're doing that, why we couldn't do it and get a better return. But that's a whole different discussion. But thank you, Dar.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dar? I think I had one more from Commissioner Breathy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just wanted to, I don't really have a question, just wanted to commend Dar on his response to COVID. I really appreciate that he was able to work with various departments, for one, the Sheriff's Department, and come up with a different schedule to protect the employees. And, he has sent us several updates of their procedures and policies. And, I think overall the employees should feel pretty good about going into work each day at DPW with the safety precautions that have been put in place. So that's great. There's a lot going on in the world of trash. We talk a lot of trash at our meetings. And I think that, there'll be stuff coming out as the year progresses, with the Sustainable Business Park. I'm looking forward to seeing the results and seeing who's going to be our tenant for that. I think Dar's doing a pretty good job, and I really appreciate the vice chair on our DPW board, Commissioner Vonk. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he's definitely knows all things trash. So I appreciate the board, and it's a lot of work that we're doing right now, but I'm glad that we've got it together. So thanks, Dar.
Thank you.
Great. I don't see any other questions for you, Dar. Thank you so much for your update. We really appreciate it. We know you do one of the most important jobs in the county, and we really appreciate all your work and everything you're doing, and your team. So thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to item 7, which is the consent agenda, and I will call on Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I move for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Great. Moved by Commissioner Voorhees, support by
Wooden.
Commissioner Wooden. Questions or
Support by Melton.
Oh, you're too late, Betsy, sorry.
That's all right.
Questions or comments on the consent agenda, please raise your hand, put something in the chat. I don't see anything.
No comments.
All right. With that, this is a roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Skaggs,
Yes.
Wooden,
Yes.
Womack, Commissioner Womack,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioners Bulkowski,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Sparks,
Yes.
Teal,
Yes.
Breivy,
Yes.
Kallman,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Onstein,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioners Jones,
Yes.
Morgan, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioners Antor,
Yes.
Vonk, Commissioner Vonk, Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk. We are on to item 8, resolutions, and I will call on Commissioner Womack for resolution 8A.
I move resolution 5/14/2044, federal coronavirus relief funding with the administrator's office.
Moved by Commissioner Womack.
Sparks support.
Support by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on resolution A? See a couple chats.
Commissioner Bonk,
Commissioner Vonk.
is he muted?
His audio isn't working. He's unmuted now.
He's unmuted. I don't know. Something's happening with his volume.
No question.
Okay,
There you go.
we got you. Any other questions or comments on resolution A? I
No,
don't see
Madam
any.
Chair.
I don't see anything. We are going to go on to roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt resolution 5/14/2044, Commissioners Skaggs,
Yes.
Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Bulkowski,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Sparks,
Yes.
Teal,
Yes.
Breivy, Commissioner Breivy,
Yes.
Commissioners Kallman,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Onstein,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioners Jones,
Yes.
Morgan, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioners Antor,
Yes.
Vonk,
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 5/14/2044 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're on to item 8B, and I'll call on Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we adopt resolution number 45 of today's date, 5/14/20, concerning the state legislative priorities.
Thank you very much. Moved by Commissioner Melton, support by Commissioner
Support, Steck.
Rossville.
support by Commissioner Steck. Questions or comments on this issue? It looks like Commissioner Skaggs has a question. Commissioner Skaggs?
Yeah, it's not a question, just a comment on my vote. This wouldn't be my ideal set of state priorities. But alas, I promised Commissioner Steck that if he was willing to include 2 issues in the priority on stable funding and reform of county courts, that I would vote yes. So I will live up to that pledge to Commissioner Steck, since I think there's a clear statement in there. Although it's vaguer than I would like, but there's a clear statement that the county is advocating for serious criminal justice reform, which comes out of several bills, including the bills on a pretrial bond process, as well as some of the bills which will be coming out of the bipartisan and bicameral and also including the judiciary of the joint task force, which I know Commissioner Talon was on. And since it's clear that we're using terms like advocates for and endorses, I can support these state priorities. And once again, want to thank Commissioner Steck for his work on that, as well as everyone else on the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Skaggs. Looks like Commissioner Vaughn, did you have your hand up now?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to commend Commissioner Steck. This is always an important lift and a big lift, and one that really communicates well our focus to the folks that we hire to help get these things done for us. And I think they are well worded and well written and easily to follow. So good job, Commissioner Steck.
Great. Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question actually pertaining to the next step, I assume. Is there going to be a similar update in federal priorities? Just given the dynamics we're having now with the federal response to COVID, I imagine it couldn't be more pertinent, and just wanted to see a little more, or wanted to hear what our next steps were for setting federal priorities. Thank you.
Right, you teed that up perfectly because Commissioner Steck is next. Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. I guess first to respond to Commissioner Wooden's inquiry, yes, we are in the process right now of going through the drafting of a proposed set of federal legislative priorities. So that will likely go through the LHR at the next meeting or the one after that, we'll have to see. And then it'll be coming back as it did with this set. And then the other comments, so thank you all for your acknowledgements, though I must surely also thank Commissioner Talon as he and I engaged in drafting and redrafting of these. You will note that most of these, not all of these, are to some extent a statement of priorities that we've previously reviewed and approved, and that each of these have had some level of a broad approval by this board in the past year. So thank you to Commissioner Talon for your work.
Great. Are there any other questions or comments on 8B? I don't see any other hands. I'm just making sure. Okay, I do want to make a comment that obviously we can send our priorities, but these are through the end of this year, I believe, and we may have to start over again next year at the beginning of the next calendar year. So hopefully we can advocate for our legislators to move some of these yet at the end of this year. And we look forward to our partners in PAA in doing so over and above the COVID response. So with that, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 514-2045, Commissioners Skaggs.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Wilkowski.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Teal.
Yes.
Reevy.
Yes.
Commissioners Coleman,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Constein,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioners Jones,
Yes.
Morgan, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioners Antor,
Yes.
Vonk,
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 514-2045 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're on to item 8C, and I will call on Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move Resolution 514-2046, authorization of summer 2020, July 1st, 2020, general operating property tax levy.
Great. Moved by Commissioner Sparks, support by Commissioner
Melton.
Commissioner Melton. Questions or comments on Resolution C today? I don't see anything in the chat. I don't see any hands up.
No hands.
Commissioner Melton, are you moving your hand or?
No, I'm just
Okay.
trying, sorry, I'm.
Oh, just making
It's
sure.
called old age.
Okay. With that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 514-2046, Commissioners Skaggs,
Yes.
Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Bulkowski,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Sparks. Commissioner Sparks.
Yes.
Commissioners Teal.
Yes.
Breivy.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Constein.
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck.
Yes.
Commissioners Jones.
Yes.
Morgan. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioners Antor.
Yes.
Vonk.
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 514-2046 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're on to item 8D, and I will again call on Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for resolution number 47 of today's date, pension board appointment from the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Melton. Moved by Commissioner Melton, support by Commissioner
Breivy.
Commissioner Breivy. Questions or comments on this resolution? I don't see any hands up. All right, this is a roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 514-2047, Commissioners Skaggs.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Bulkowski.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Teal.
Yes.
Breivy.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Constein.
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck.
Yes.
Commissioners Jones.
Yes.
Morgan. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioners Antor.
Yes.
Vonk.
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 514-2047 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are on to our last resolution of the evening, 8E, and I will again call on Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I would move the adoption of Resolution 514-20, number 48, for mental health court substance abuse and mental health services administration grant from the circuit court.
Jones, support.
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees, support by Commissioner Jones. Questions or comments on this resolution? Don't see any hands up. All right, this is a record roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 514-2048, Commissioners Skaggs,
Yes.
Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Bilkowski,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Sparks,
Yes.
Teal,
Yes.
Breeby,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioners Jones,
Yes.
Morgan, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioners Antor, Commissioner Antor,
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Vonk,
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 514-2048 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are on to public comment related to any general county matter, number 9 on our agenda. We don't see anything in the chat. Do we have any emails at publiccomment@kentcountymi.gov? No
Madam
email.
Chair, wait a minute, there's a hand raised.
Brian Posthumous. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you for opening up the public comment for me to speak. And as many of you know, I've reached out to some of you just to talk a little bit about the issues facing Kent County, along with me introducing myself. I'm running for the state representative in 73rd District, and just wanted to provide strong, trusted, conservative leadership for Kent County and Lansing. So with that, I'll turn the floor back over to you. I just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you.
Wow, and under 20 seconds. That's great. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Welcome to the board, and love to have good partners with anyone who's running for office. So thank you so much, and welcome to the board virtually.
Thank you.
Any other public comment today?
Yes. Yes. John Inholson.
John Inholson. John, welcome to the Board of Commissioners.
Hi, Chair Bolter. Hello, commissioners. Thank you for allowing me a few seconds to speak. I'd like to introduce myself. I know some of you, others I don't, but I look forward to meeting you once we have an opportunity to sit across from each other. I wanted to say hello. I am a local attorney. I represent small businesses, and I am also running to be state representative in the 73rd District. I'm excited about the opportunity to serve, and I look forward to letting everybody know more about why I'm running and what I bring to the table when we each have time individually. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Again, we appreciate both of you joining us today. Hope that you can both join us in the future. We have a lot of issues coming up. We really appreciate our legislators. We do a lot to make sure that they understand the county's priorities. So we appreciate you acknowledging our work today and appreciate you being here. Any other public comment today? All right, I don't see any, so we're going to move on to reports. Please let me know who has any commissioner reports today.
Hi, Chair.
Commissioner Callan.
Thank you. Just wanted to share 3 brief highlights from yesterday's Grand Rapids DDA board meeting. First being, I don't know how much we all get downtown anymore, but the Dash has not been operating, and we were told that it is expected to be back in operation on May 26th. So hopefully soon after that, we'll be getting out and about a little bit, but that's the intent there. Second thing is something I noted that I hadn't really thought about, but one of the significant sources of revenue for the DDA that is not restricted under the normal DDA guidelines is parking revenue from the properties that the DDA owns. And as you can imagine, without much parking going on downtown. That revenue is significantly down. We don't know how much that will be, but it will affect potentially the DDA budget moving forward. Third thing is we heard a report from folks from Art Prize because the DDA provides some support for Art Prize, particularly for promotions. A couple things of note: they are still planning to do Art Prize in the fall, but they are
Oh, Commissioner Talon, you froze up.
side also
There you go.
more art. Did you lose me?
You're back.
Sorry about that. Go back to Art Prize. More, we heard from Art Prize, they talked about more outdoor artwork, more art in windows, and more art in large indoor spaces. So the concept is to spread people out, but it will be happening just a little different than what we're used to. Thank you, that's my report.
Great. I don't see any other commissioner reports in the chat or any hands raised.
Stick.
Oh, Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I tried to raise my hand in 2 ways. So those of you that hear my reports periodically on what's going on in the behavioral health world, just so you understand how things flip and change, the most recent meeting of the Lakeshore Regional Entity, which you'll recall is the Region 3 PIHP, we noted that across the region, what DHHS has been unable to do, a virus from Wuhan did do, and that is to change the dynamics of the cost and demand for services, because the reduction in people's activity has left us with fewer demands for our service in the most recent month or so, and that has had the effect of right-siding some of the upside down dynamics that we've been experiencing for forever, it seems like. But the caution is that both at the regional level, and Commissioner Talon can affirm that at the CMH level, at Network 180 level, we do begin to see already a notable uptake in the demand for behavioral health services, not just within the traditional Medicaid world, but also across the board. So as this current crisis continues to wind its way through our economy, through our communities, it is noted that we do begin to see more and more need for behavioral health services. And I think that the most recent meeting of the Crisis Task Force earlier this week just reaffirmed that as we begin to see that across the board. There are new ways of being able to reach out, new ways for folks to be able to access that, including teletherapy, which are methodologies I would encourage people to learn about. But we'll see as the next few months progress as to whether or not the ultimate demand for these services once again far outweighs the available funding. So stay tuned. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Steck. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I just wanted to add, being the liaison to the township supervisors, that there's been very positive feedback about the Friday updates. I'm really glad that we started those here a number of weeks ago, and glad that we continue them. And I believe there's a lot of good information that is shared with that. So just great big thumbs up to staff for their effort to make that happen. It's a wonderful way to keep the community updated, get good questions answered. So thank you very much.
Great. I don't see any other hands up. Do we have any other official reports today? If not, I just want to give a quick report on our COVID relief subcommittee. We've been meeting very regularly at Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 o'clock. Typically has been going between an hour and 2 hours. Staff has pulled together an enormous amount of information. Could someone please mute their phone? Thank you. Staff has pulled together an enormous amount of information. I hope that other members of the board. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I hope members can join. They are open meetings, and they've been very informative. We are hoping to wrap up with some semblance of a recommendation by the end of this month, because we know that a lot of groups need the relief as soon as possible. We have been assessing all of the different funds that are coming into the region and into the county. There is not only the CARES money, there are several other funds and funding sources. A lot of those can be are very restricted in how they can be used. So we're trying to make sure that we're using the restricted funds first, and the CARES money is less restrictive. Additionally, we are trying to get our arms around all of the need in the county, not just in the city or not just in the townships, but the whole county, and what that looks like. We know there are essential needs. We know there are housing needs. We know there are food assistance needs. We do know that some groups are addressing those, and we are trying to get our handle on all of that as well. We did hear from a lot of the housing community on Tuesday. Today we heard from a lot of the area chambers of commerce, and we also heard from the DDA on what they're doing. So a lot of information is coming at us. I know staff is trying to get a lot of information out as much as they can, and it's a lot to keep up with. So staff will be making a specific folder for you to have. We're making sure that all the information is going out to all the members, not just subcommittee members. And anyone who has questions, comments, concerns, please discuss those with Wayman or myself or anyone on the subcommittee, so that we all are aware of what you're hearing and seeing on the ground. We're trying to not be like the federal government and kick money out as quickly as possible. That may not make sense, but we also know there is an urgency. So we're working on all of that. With that, this is an official report, it's probably more miscellaneous, but it has to do with COVID. I really want to give a shout out to the staff. I can't believe how many hours they're working on this. They're basically trying to run the county as well as handle all of the issues around these COVID funds. So I really hope that we all can stop and appreciate all their work. And I don't know that Wayman's had a day off in 2 months. I mean that. So I just want to really acknowledge staff and the entire team at our county, and really want to thank them for all their work. With that, we're on to Commissioner Miscellaneous. I'm sure we have some today. Commissioner Jones.
No, not me.
Oh, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for the update on the COVID relief subcommittee. I actually had two quick questions on that matter. The first was, I recall from today's meeting, I was able to join the tail end. There was a discussion of essentially a shared file for members to pull information from, since everyone's getting emails from them. I was wondering if that shared file could also be available to the other commissioners, only because I'm getting constituent questions on them. I'm sure that everyone else is, and rather than add another level to ask staff for their help on something, just making it a little bit simpler for everyone. And then my other question was actually comes from Commissioner Steck's questions. This time, I guess he teed me up, are the behavioral health systems and mental health systems coming before this committee to talk about their additional needs for mental health services? I know that Pine Rest has released some fairly sobering statistics on how our shelter-in-place orders and the COVID crisis is impacting mental health. Just wondering if they're going to be coming forward with any kind of report or even ask.
Yeah, we have discussed that, and staff is working on that as well. We do know there are significant needs. The state did come up with some form of a grant, but their calculation was based on the beginning of this crisis, and so it was really front loaded into where the need was greatest, which at the time was Southeast Michigan. So I think in our calculation, without any regard to the size of our population, our funding was very minimal in that regard. So I do know that we will be looking at that for sure. Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I just want to start by saying my appreciation to the whole staff. It's a difficult time, but what I'm going to ask is for us to start taking a look at our messaging on COVID-19. With people, when they're listening to the radio, the TV, even advertisements, it's 24/7 COVID-19. And what's frustrating is the messaging is different from every source that you listen to. And to tag on to what Commissioner Wooden said, I think the toll on the well-being and the mental health is eventually going to be a much larger toll than what the COVID-19 actually took in lives. So hopefully we can work on that. I don't know what the best way to do, but there is a lot of fear and misunderstanding, and that's not going to serve us well as we try to reopen and try to get back to what we once had. So hopefully we can take a look at that. With all the exposure on COVID-19, what I think people forget is that the state had some serious problems before this one occurred, and all of that's being pushed to the side. One of them was substance abuse, our state of our mental health services. PFAS was brought up earlier. That's just like dropped off the radar. Criminal justice reform, our roads and infrastructures. There's still a lot of problems out there, and we've got to maybe double down, is that we can't forget the other things that have seemed to have been pushed aside. On some good news, well, I don't know if it's good news, a lot of nonprofits are out there, and they're in the same boat as everyone else. Is funding that they relied on for donations is way off. So, I know not everyone's working, not everyone's got disposable incomes, but part of one of the CARES bills was a addition to our tax code. I know over last year you could just take a one big personal exemption, which covered charitable deductions far more than what you probably donated the year before. But if you donate to people and nonprofits for that deduction, I saw where there's a $300 one-time deduction on next year's taxes that you can use when you donate to a nonprofit. So remember all of our great nonprofits out there. They've been with us through the good times. They're definitely with us during the hard times. And I appreciate all the work that they're doing. And they are some really unsung heroes. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ponstein. It looks like I have Commissioner Coleman next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You might notice that I'm here in the county building tonight. Thanks to Wayman and Al for letting me in. I'm here because of concern about the legitimacy of Executive Order 75. And I sent out an email last night to all the county commissioners with the details. I won't belabor those details. If anybody from King County staff or the public is interested in that, I'm happy to share. But I just want to take a brief moment and say I worry that we look at government, and if it's the government's doing something we don't like, that's bad government. And if the government's doing something that we do like, then that's good government. But I think that's a pretty shallow approach and a wrong approach. So I would just encourage us all to use this terrible circumstance to really think deeply about what good government and good government structure looks like. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Skaggs?
Yeah, just to follow up, it's kind of with a heavy heart that unfortunately I have to feel compelled to thank the 17 commissioners that read and understood the memo from Attorney Peter Ruddle at Honigman that the county requested to discuss the legality of this meeting and the legality of the governor's actions. The governor's authority rests on a clear reading of the actual words of the Emergency Powers Act of 1945. And I think the memo clearly states that she is on solid legal ground to defend this action. I think the proper place to litigate and adjudicate constitutional issues is through the court system. We are a nation of the rule of laws. It is not in the minds of individuals and individual elected officials. So I want to thank the 17 commissioners, the staff that didn't need to be here to pull it off, the public who commented and who listened in, to the other elected officials that were here. I saw the sheriff was on, obviously the clerk was on, several others who followed the legal order of the governor and followed the best practices on keeping the public safe that have come down to us from our own county health department, from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and from the federal CDC, and did exactly what Administrator Britt said at the beginning of this meeting, which is our goal here to meet in this legal fashion, is to protect the public health of the citizens of Kent County. So thank you to those who did.
Thank you, Commissioner Skaggs. Commissioner Bolkowski.
I just wanted to briefly thank, in particular, our health department staff. I know we've been talking about all our staff, and they're all doing great jobs. Just the had opportunity to go live in a different venue with Dr. London. And again, they're there at the front lines helping us respond, and they're planning for the future already. You know, I mean, we're nowhere out of the woods in the current situation. At the same time, how best to stay vigilant and get out of it and stay out of it. So all that being said, thank you to staff.
Great. Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if I'm the last one or not, but I would like very much to thank Commissioner Voorhees for his words this evening, and I truly am going to use those for the next few days. I loved how you told us or suggested that we shower ourselves with positive things, with the role that we have been given to make things as good and as positive and as profitable and as healthy for our constituents in Kent County. And I agree with the sentiments that the news is not filled with good things, and yet there are so many good things going on each and every day. We just really need to be the ones to find it. So thank you very much, Commissioner Voorhees, for your words, and they will certainly serve me well in the next few days. I will chew on them and I will smile at them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Melton. Commissioner Antor.
Yes, I actually took my little waving hand down because I'm going to exercise my right to keep my mouth shut at this point. So thank you.
All right. Any other commissioner miscellaneous today? I don't see any. We had two commissioners talk about the governor's orders, and we do have two different legal opinions. So our meeting and my intention and leadership's intention, I don't think, is to make any political statements on one side or the other. It's, for my mind, possibly because I work for a health system, but I just want to make sure that we're ensuring the safety of everyone involved. So my thought was we'll most likely continue to meet virtually at our next meeting and kind of see what the courts determine. Hopefully there will be a decision made between now and then. And then we do have to start considering what we will be doing moving forward. Unfortunately, I think when we started all this, we thought we would be moving quickly past COVID, be down a couple of months and move on. And I don't think that's the case anymore. So Wayman will be discussing plans for the county reopening. We started to do that, and then the order was extended. So I know that he already has that in the works, and he will be sharing that with us very soon. My plan again would be for us to meet virtually at the next meeting. We'll kind of take a wait and see. If we do need to meet in person, we most likely will not be doing it in the boardroom. Additionally, I have seen some modeling for our region that shows COVID potentially spiking in the late summer, early fall. So I would hate to have us move toward a smaller in-person situation as this issue potentially could be getting worse. So with that, I don't have any other housekeeping items. I will call on Commissioner Voorhees for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. What I will move to adjourn, subject to the call of the chair, to Thursday, May 28, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. for our next official meeting.
Melton supports.
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees, support by Commissioner Melton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.